All right. Yo, what up, everybody? This is Chris Carr from Black Land Ownership, Brooklyn Wildlife, all things Gamba. We're in Gamba Forest. Special guest today on Just for My People. Who do we have?
I'm Zoe MAP. I'm an artist, multimedia artist. I'm from Italy. Been living in Bushwick for the past 15 years. And yes,
Tell people what it means to be a multimedia artist.
so basically I experience and explore with different type of media. I started with dancing and then filmmaking, writing, of course, it's in everything I do. Curating, performing, I said that. And also, yeah, I come from drawing. I used to have a huge passion for comics and stuff like that. So yeah, visual art in general, and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we first met, now, background for people that don't know, I've lived in Brooklyn since around 2008 or so. We met how long ago?
2010.
Okay, 2010. And when I first got to know you, you were DJing, playing music, you were drawing, illustrating, you had worked on a film, and you sat me down and showed me an Italian film about hip hop. Can you talk a little bit about that film and how hip hop is an influence in your life now?
So yeah, at that time I left Italy, and the last project, B project that I was part of it was Versibus Alternis, which is this documentary that which focuses on freestyle specifically in hip hop. And there was two MCs. There was this kind of comparison between North and South, and there was dialect involved for sure. There is a comparison with the old way to do poetry back in Italy, and so there is a lot of everything is related with improvisation basically. So and you know what freestyle is because you are a great freestyler. So I thought that showing you that also would basically show you what what the people do in Italy, because we are there is a huge, I mean huge at that time, a little smaller community that follow hip hop. Now it's mainstream. Now hip hop is on the radio, and yeah, hip hop is in everything. It's basically the community that I was looking for. I was looking to find um, a place, even though it's not a place, where to belong, to fit in. And I can't say that I've entirely found it, because there is a lot of misogyny in hip hop, and also I also realized that I'm not necessarily a person that belongs to a group.
Right.
I'm more like a wolf, a loner, and I actually don't like when there are like group rules or things like that. So, but I found out that in my self discovery. So it's been like quite a bit.
Well, tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that. Like coming here, 2010 to now. What are the different media or ways you've explored your creativity? Like you mentioned dancing, you mentioned illustration. Like what are the different things you did when you were really getting deep into those different elements?
So I'm actually, one time you told me that I'm an explorer, and I thought that that was really flattering, and I felt good about it. But I have to be honest, I didn't know a lot related to hip hop. No matter I was really into it, no matter I'm a fan of it. When I moved here, then I started putting some pieces together. But even though I was experiencing hip hop, I couldn't read it to the fullest. I couldn't see all the context because I didn't know exactly what it means to come from some certain neighborhoods, what it means to be black. I still don't know that, but I think I can understand a little bit better, um, and how much is related to being black and how much is related that to the hip hop um, subculture. So yeah, I grew up with a lot of people that we were trying to understand and copy. It was a moment with no internet also, so whatever we were consuming was a lot from people that were maybe coming here for, traveling or like trips in America, or magazines, clothes. But yeah, it was roughly something that was close to the origins, but not necessarily so specific. And still now, I think there is a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of you know really liking the overall entertainment, but not deepen up in the context of the old culture.
What helped give you context? Like, what were you able to explore living in New York?
Well, first of all, I think that yeah, the melting pot is something very interesting, and I was very interested in understanding more. But of course, every single ethnicity has a completely different outcome and upbringing. So it's humbling myself as being very important for empathizing and trying, even with the friendships, basically, and the relationships, just in general. Hanging out with these people, sharing different type of experiences, got me to a point where I felt a little closer and there was a better understanding. But it's still very complex, and yeah.
Well, what are some of those things? Like, you had a gallery for a while, so
Yeah.
and you worked with a large number of street artists, like a lot of folks.
Yeah.
So that, like, outside of, to me, just like hip hop or being directly tied to a neighborhood, if someone were to be like, "Yo, how'd your homegirl think she knows anything about art?" It's like, because they ran a gallery for however long and met all the artists, watched them paint, were carrying buckets for them. You were there, like, and so, like, what are some of the things like that you think that you've been involved in where you got to see that in a way I think a lot of folks never really get the opportunity to see.
Well, I really got full in because I wanted to be about it, not just like talk about it. I just wanted to be part of the movement or part of the Brooklyn Bushwick slash community. I understand what was going on around me, not necessarily getting to know that important person. It was more like human by human. I try to understand the surrounding, and then observing a lot, try to listen a lot. Music, culture, they go hand to hand. So it's a lot of also language. The more I was understanding the English in general, but all the nuances. It's full of nuances, the language and the use of it, specifically to New York City. But I think it's everywhere like that. I was very active when I was in Italy, also in the hip hop community. So I came here with the same intention. I wanted to, the street cultures in general is something that for sure is, on my top list. I want to get to know what's going on, because music always reflects society and what is going on. So it's a lens to understand, even politically, what is happening in a country. So for me, that's the book that I'm trying to read. It's just like the streets.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when we first met, you were talking about there being squats in Italy and like some
Yeah.
of the more anarchist movements. How do you bring that into your art or your approach towards culture?
Well, I feel yeah, I'm under this umbrella of alternatives people, or people that don't necessarily fit with with the standards of a regular European country, but just in general, as a woman, they expect you to be in a certain type of way, to possibly dress or have your hair, blah blah blah. So for me, that started really from young age. I also have a mother and a grandfather that they were both very into politics in general because they were working class and they were listening to union. Union was doing a sort of education inside the industries, um, and outside there was this squats and political movement that they were trying to bond with the working class and strike with them, protest with them. So of course communism has been the key for understand economy, to understand also ethnicity, race, and privileges, and all that. But it is really until I moved here that I feel now I'm truly connected to what that means.
Right.
Because before it was like a lot of in the surface, a way to be, a way to hang out, but now it's more like a purpose, or I really need to know historically what, I'm just like very um thirsty for knowledge in general. So whatever can get me to more uh, understanding of the whole scenario, I'm all about it. So yeah.
So then there's some people that think art is separate of politics or is just aesthetic. It's supposed to just be pretty. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, it is very far from who I am, from where I'm from, in terms of course, social class. I think that's play a big role in my life, and I'm honestly happy that I grew up poor. Of course, like not that kind of poor that exists also and in the world means like meaning like have food. I always had food, but just in general, my family was really simple, really humble. So they didn't push me to pursue the an artistic career because there was not that type of vibe in my house. And I didn't have parents that had the collection of records or incredible books around the house. That wasn't me. I always had to go out of the house to find the resources of the people that could influence me positively or push me to to go for that kind of career or way to be. So I don't think I think we have enough of pretty things. I think we have enough of stuff. Just in general, I feel actually, I believe that art is really an act of rebellion. Is trying to wake people up and be cohesive against like a system that oppress us. I really feel that politics as ethic of society is the our number one interest for to inspire change. Artists has to inspires change. That's what I think is the main reason why I do what I do. Is just trying also to connect. It's a matter of belonging still, like the sense of identity, which is so hard to find for people like me. I think that art is a is helpful because it's going to connect you with others,
Yeah.
just in general.
So I mean, on that topic,
Mm.
being a person that's traveled, right?
Mm-hmm.
You, I'm gonna say, going out on a limb here. It for me, it's courageous when I meet people that go halfway around the world and start a life, continue a life, whatever it is, away from where they grew up. Um, and in America, there's this thing of if you don't speak English clearly, people treat you a certain way or assume something about your intelligence. In hip hop, being a woman may not always make it the most welcoming if you want to be yourself. Not being black or Spanish speaking or Latinx may not then be so welcoming. How do you kind of navigate being yourself, being authentic to what you're interested in, what you believe in, but in these worlds where it is foreign and not just politically, not just but like in the reality of you are thousands of miles away from where you grew up and with people that may never have met someone like you. Like how do you navigate that? And being here as long as you have
Yeah. Well.
been.
a lot to answer, but I want to start from saying that first of all, America, United States, and New York City, I think it's just two separate worlds, even though they are like the same thing. Or I mean, New York City is part of the United States. I feel that the broken English here is actually the majority. Uh,
Okay.
I never really met people. They were particularly rude with my way of speaking and expressing myself. I honestly think this is a thing in Europe more than here, where every country have their own language and they care so much about it. Not that you shouldn't care about the language, but it's I feel here is the land of foreigners. So there is a rooted way to welcome people that I don't know. I found it to be pretty beautiful. So I felt accepted. Of course, very frustrating because I'm a person of yeah. I have opinions. I wanna express myself. So I went through and I keep going through frustration related to cultures slash language and all that. But it's also true that I always felt super removed by my culture in a way because I don't feel that my culture cover a person like me. Um,
You mean like Italian culture or your
yeah,
specific kind of
my
region?
Italian culture. No, just overall because I also studied in Bologna, which is a city north, center north, and I don't think doesn't change much the results. Like they are very yeah. The classism is like super intense, like yeah, in the academia and all that, who you are, where you come from, they look at you from head to toes, like who is this person. And I mean maybe it's I don't know if this is something that is not even that special because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people go through this type of reactions, rejections. But I feel I really struggle with my people in Italy. So when I moved here, I felt, oh wow, I can really start from scratch and reintroduce myself to myself, to others, like build a new me. So that was like a great opportunity. It gave me a lot of energy. I was also like younger than now, but so I had the energy. I was 27, so I guess like I had that energy. Now a little less, but I don't know. I've always been a little jaded. I'm those kind of souls that came in this world already a little jaded. But yeah, it was definitely. I told this to my mom as well. Like, oh, I chose something that is so hard. Hip hop is yeah, it's definitely a movement that is non-white. I also struggle to accept the fact that I am white, and you probably are. You were one of the first people to tell me you are white, and me saying, "No, I'm just Italian. What are you talking about?" And it's funny because now I'm I'm really focusing on understanding the Italian heritage because there is so much need for that. We were always less white than the white people, and like just reading about the lynching that were happening, the Sicilians specifically, they were working in the cotton and sugar field with the blacks, but they had the opportunity to whitewash, and that's what they did,
Yeah.
and that they became real white. But those are conversations that I always felt the necessity of talking about those things. Even when I was in Italy, I was not wording my thoughts this way specifically, but I was noticing there is a huge hate between North and South.
Right.
And it's so based on also skin color. But till to these days, there is no conversation. The word colorism is not even in use in my country, and I thought that this word actually fit perfectly with the issue that we we have been having. And also, like, I don't know, I'm very, as you said, like, I'm an explorer. I really always look at these people from the south and the differences, the facial features. Like, there's so much diversity in Italy, and right now there is even like a scientific research that said the DNA, the Italian DNA, is the most diverse in Europe. But I think now that there's a lot of Afro-Italians speaking, especially after, the George Floyd and all of that, is so, we are so in need of these conversations. But I keep finding these walls. So, and I usually get very frustrated as, being a woman in the hip hop community, kind of same thing. They don't accept you. They don't try to step back, because I think overall as white people, that's what we are called to do sometimes, literally step back or be quiet, let other people speak. I think if men would do that, that would be already like a big step towards, acceptance and, trying to be in the same space. Like, but trying to push women in the hip hop is something that is not even in the conversation in Italy in 2023. I've been trying to speak with some pioneers about those things, and they looked at me like, oh, I said the word feminism, and it's still like a bad word over there when it's even trendy. So everybody tried to act, oh, this, oh, we're not, oh, Americans are so obsessed with racism. And I'm like, well, at least here, people are having a conversation about this. Is not happening over there. So, yeah, lately I've been like trying to plan and understand strategies to have this kind of conversation and get to these people, basically, because that's what I really want to do.
Well, I'm gonna make sure everything's still recording because this is so awesome. But I don't want you to stop.
No, yeah.
What are some of the things that you have in mind to address this conversation?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, now that you're checking if everything is,
we're good.
Okay, can I read a little thing?
Yes.
You might recognize who wrote this. I know. We shouldn't be so focused on identity. It makes sense that you say that. It absolves you of responsibility. It allows you to continue to be a colonizer. I see a bunch of non-black folks that are experimenting with the black community, piloting their not-for-profit education initiatives, trying to encourage black folks to engage with more mental health professionals. These white savior not-for-profits are not only failing to serve the community, but learning how to run a business. Failing to get more black kids into college, but learning how to write grants better. Failing to bridge gaps by making stratification more clear about who controls whose lives. Misinforming the youth about hegemony empowering society, and continuing, the black people have it the worst and white people know how to save you. Madness. It's gross. If you aren't black and you work with black people, be prepared, informed, thorough, committed, and serious. Otherwise, you are a snake oil salesperson that is another parasite on vulnerable communities. If white folks had the ability to save black folks, why haven't they? If white folks knew what was best for society, would we be where we are now with nuclear proliferation, environmental crisis, a world becoming more carceral and economic destabilization? Maybe those that have historically made the decisions need to move out the way and finally let the people that have the experience do the job. Humans have been humans for 100,000 years and more, existed for 98% of the time, working with nature and the natural world. And in the last 2,000 years of Greco, Roman, Euro, American influence, look at how quickly we have been brought to the precipice of doomsday. You wrote this.
I can't believe it.
No, because like it's so yes, it's like the words that I need some time, to explain. But that's exactly like if you like hip hop and you don't care about black people, you failing completely. This is something that I want to scream to tons of friends that I haven't, you know, but not even if you like hip hop, because we are consumer of black culture to, I don't know, a percentage that is crazy. And then if we talk about race, oh, you're so obsessed of this. Like I had this guy telling me, I don't see all of this racism in France. What are you talking about? I'm like, dude, first of all, you are not black, so you might want to listen to black people. Maybe, yeah, listen to their experiences. And I have black friends from Europe, from Norway, from Switzerland. They've been telling me, hey, yes, there is a very hypocrite way to navigate this type of conversations. They are not happening. They are assuming that this doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
When it's like, we are the who created this problem. So we should be the first people that, if we really want to be anti-racism, should be engaging in some activities, whatever it is, that really dismantle this systematic type of, operating from the law. Because also, like, yeah, here there is way much more laws that protect black and brown people that don't exist there. Like if you are born in Italy or in Europe, anywhere else, but your family are not Italians, you can't have citizenship. If you were born in America, but your grandparents are Italians, you can apply for passport, and you maybe never been in the country, but yes, you can be a citizen. So because yes, we still have, there isn't this kind of conversation. So there are no new law. There is nothing that is avant-garde about this. It's just, let's shut down all the conversations, and let's try to, act that this doesn't belong to us, which is like, yeah, that's what the Afro-Italians and the Afro-Europeans are screaming at the moment.
Well, that always, I won't say always, but I wasn't around a lot of people from Europe as friends until I moved to New York the second time, so like 2008, 2009, and probably not till 2011 where I started meeting a lot more people that weren't from the U.S. and were coming due to their own choice. Not that their parents came, not that seeking asylum, but like whether they're artists, whether they were working, whether they came on vacation and just never went home, you get married, who knows what was happening. Yeah. But I started meeting a lot of people from different countries, and the perspective of like how many of them were from Europe and were able to come and get visas and figure out how to stay versus people from different African countries, new folks, and having discussions where my homie who's Belgian was like, this racism thing, you Americans are crazy. And I'm like, hold on, King Leopold, Belgium, y'all cornered the market on certain types of stuff, got out early, and then just ran the bank. Swiss people, oh, we don't, hold on, Switzerland, y'all Dutch people, hold on, Dutch East India Company, British people. I mean, and it was really interesting historically that maybe amnesia, but then also contemporarily, I'll speak to people from, let's say, Denmark, Scandinavia. They're like, no, our programs are this and that. We love black people. And it's kind of interesting that if you're an American black person and go through certain places, people are more or less friendly. In Northern Europe, people were friendly. But then when you start talking about how Turkish people were being treated or Moroccan folks, and you start seeing this colorism like you mentioned, and still a steady anti-blackness. And how do you navigate that in a place where you come to America and people will say, well, the Italians were treated like black people, which is going to make a black person go crazy. But also, it does get into, in Europe, before they all turned anti-black, it was all the Europeans at each other. Part of how they stopped that was the anti-black shit, but that Italians were treated differently when they got here. Black folks, Italian folks, and certain other communities were living in tenements together or in neighborhoods together. So like now, how do you then navigate that? Like, again, me, hip hop, I love hip hop culture. I don't like how women are treated in it. how do you attach then to these different communities, cultures, or like kind of see yourself in all that?
No, I'm, I'm trying to study historically the exact uh, things that happened, because otherwise we keep saying things that are not exactly exact. Like, yes, when the Italians came here, they were not treated as white. They are like, yeah, I saw, I mean, the lynching, but also so many sort kind of things that you were just like, oh wow, I wouldn't expect that. But it's also true, they, you can't compare what the Italians went through to the black people. There is not comparison, because again, there is slavery, and even like I mean, the hate and the lynching is like, we're talking about, I don't know, it's a matter of numbers and, check facts. It's not, you can't say things like, oh yeah, we were the same. No, we're not. You can still see that. So it's a matter of really studying, understanding. Also, is a very young history. We're not talking about something, because I remember even with my Italian community that I had here, I had a little Italian family, and I was constantly, arguing, because they were like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Blah blah blah." But then you just start reading, and then you just like, "Oh yes, it's exactly how I'm saying. It's not how you're trying to sugarcoat my opinions. It's because you don't want to deal with. It's easier not dealing with and trying to get by, because you still have your privileges. So you don't need, if you don't do the work in your life, nothing is going to change. Of course, I'm talking about non-black folks. Like, their lives, it will be the same and even better, even lighter. You keep being white, you keep being privileged. And also, I'm so tired of, which is something I used to do as well. So again, this is something that is a work in progress. You need to be open to receive new informations, unlearn what you think you know, and then you will understand that things are not exactly as you think you thought in the past. Because for me too, I was keep comparing classism with racism. I was keep saying, oh yeah, but it's also a matter of rich and poor. Yes, but it's a thing that goes on top of racism. And you told me actually, I think, yes, for example, our friendship has been one of the main source for me to understand so many aspects of these issues. Like, a person that want to go somewhere else because they poor and they want to like start over, right? They might find the money for the ticket, and guess what, they go in another country like United States. If they white, they can, yeah, do whatever they want. If they black, they're gonna face racism in every single country. There is no country where there is no racism. So yes, it's gonna be always plus racism for a black person. So you can't compare your issues with someone that is non-white. Yeah, because also like, yeah, all the nuances. Yeah, I mean, if you're like all these people that you mentioned, Turkish or Moroccan people, North Africans. Yes, if you, they are, uh, they discriminate between among each other, which is colorism, right? They discriminate. Is not racism. There is not such a thing of, a
Like
reverse
reverse, yeah.
racism. Even that seems to be like such a, you know, heavy concept that people will not understand. If there are laws, there is a systemic racism. So if I get discriminated, that doesn't change anything in my life. I might encounter an asshole, but yeah, it's different. Like feminism, right? Like being a woman, that's the same thing. It's not just encounter like a man that is a sexist idiot. I don't get the same um, payment no matter we do the same job. We get treated like badly by court.
That's what I was going to say. I always look at when you run it up, something goes wrong. You may have a situation where me as a black person, I may do something to a white coworker. My white coworker goes up, keeps going up. You get to a judge. Usually the judge is white, the lawyers are white, the legislators are white. If I'm a man and some woman, makes a statement and I try to counter it, you get men the further you go up, and they tend to reinforce helping men. And so there's never been a time where if women started to actually seek justice for everything that happened, where they're going to get women reinforcing it. The farther you go up, the fewer women are allowed to be there. And it's not like with black people, we're 13% of the population, maybe 20%. Okay, it makes sense. We're not 50% of a legislative body. Women are over half the population. When you look up and you're like, there are no women, the only answer is because dudes are being a problem. At a certain point, that's purposeful. So how, in knowing that though, what's your sense then of how then there's that power that's not always recognized, like in the sense of you've definitely found a way to be autonomous, found a way to make what you, I think, believe in, and like I've been able to kind of follow your path. What's kind of given inspiration to that, or like is it being able to see women who've done it before you? Is it you just being a person that barrels through brick walls? Like what? How does that? And then we'll take a break so I can check everything.
Yeah. Um, so definitely having models, people that before you uh, were. I mean, I think also like if I think about Italian women, I think about them as loud. I think about them as reactive, uh, but unfortunately not enough. I don't think I had enough model to be who I am. I kind of built this my own. Um, but yeah, music and all these women, even like their biographies. I don't know. I always been pretty amused and interested in all this women that were like fighting no matter what. They were standing for themselves. But yeah, nowadays I get also I don't know. I'm a radical person. I think, but radicalism is somehow pursued as something childish, which is something to me pretty stupid, because of course the balance is in the middle, the extremes. It's for people that just want to fight. I get it, but I think the real radicalism, the political radicalism that I saw in New York City, but not only right now. I'm talking about, yeah, just starting going back, even I don't know, being at the Losaida Center, seeing what people were doing here in the East Village. And you could see like the Latin people and the black people coming together, being on the street. I mean, this is what I wish, for our left side all over the world. I mean, it's not just like being on the street and protesting, of course, but like really being about it. Because what happened was exactly when these people started making enough money, their habits and lives completely changed. So they are not interested anymore in protecting people's rights. And going back to the fact that in a position of power right now is the white man basically making all the decisions. At some point we need to be abrupt, we need to disrupt. It's just a matter of taking like these statues down. There is no sweet way to do that.
Right.
I was even thinking about, because I was in this, I went to see some conferences, and there was some Afro women, black Italians that were invited. So I was like, wow, maybe there is some change happening, and I'm witnessing this. And then the moderator and the people around them had also invited, of course, there were like three women. One is white, two are black women, and they were reading they some chapters from their books. And of course the black women, they were talking about somehow somewhat racism, and even like being pretty explicit, in what they were going through, this and that. I'm not gonna go through the specifics, otherwise we're gonna be here for hours. But the moderator were not using the word racism, not using the word intersectionality, and I was waiting for that instead. And then when I there was a moment of questions, and then there was this woman that said, "Oh, I wanted to ask, how is translate the writing in two different languages?" She got all confused. The women on the stage are all Italians, but she's talking about that maybe these women were writing it, or they were speaking in a different language and they learn Italian after, because the concept of Afro-Italian is not something that, everybody gets, or, sure. No, you had to explain. It's almost something new, even though it's not necessarily new. But I think it's new to see two black women that are Italian on a stage in New York City talking about their books. It's definitely new. And when I took the mic and I was pretty frustrated and I asked, like, why are you guys not talking about intersectionality? The moderator ranted the meaning of the word on the mic, like, everybody knows. And I'm like, dude, nobody here knows the meaning of this word. This comes from English. Because guess what? The black women, the black lesbian women were talking about this in the 70s, and then Audre Lorde talked about it. And then in the 90s, 1989, something like that, the term has been translated in Italian. But he was taken for granted that. He also said, we're not doing something so explicit, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. I'm like, dude, being explicit means to create something that is accessible for everyone. And that's what we need. We need to be crystal clear. Because, and I was thinking about hip hop, right? How it's straight in your face. Yeah. And it's still poetry.
Yeah.
Because people think about art, you said pretty things. Poetry is sweet, it's gonna make your life, better. Not necessarily. Because when I think about hip hop and I think about that kind of poetry, which is my favorite one, it's like rage and it's fucking social justice. That's what we need. Like, these kind of conversations, like, yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. That's so awesome.
Is this still? Are we still live here?
Audio is. I gotta see if video cut off or when.
Oh yeah, it's 45 minutes. Okay.
So we lost some of my video. It probably cut off at 40.
Should I stop?
Just for 2 seconds, and then we'll get right back into it while the energy's up. That's good. I like having video portion, then I'll have the full audio, so it'll be like, check it here on this platform and then see the full version, so there's always like a secret chamber. This is good. So for the next part probably won't be quite as long, but what is that? Next part over a roll of bread. Yeah, good.
Good. Are we smoking?
Getting some sunshine. What's the book?
I wanted to just show you so yesterday I went to a conference with these Italian Americans that they are trying to explain to the Italian American community that race is life. Yeah, we were like the black people. They are not correct. And guess what? This and that. These people were really like, oh no, it blew my mind because I was like, finally someone is speaking my language. And they're Italian Americans. And I was thinking, wow, why I was not expecting that? Because also, I believe in stereotypes. You believe Italian Americans usually are not necessarily into identity, right? Or they don't know really their history, because you see how I thought that was like
That's a good question.
also, see, she, the woman is American. She knows exactly the history. I mean, she's not exactly. She knows somewhat something about the history of blacks here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The black Italians, they were like, what? What she's talking about? You know, they were like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then the Italian woman just completely misunderstood, and it was so embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
All right. You ready?
Oh, we back. Okay.
We're back. We're gonna do it.
Well, I think, I don't know. Should I do a live also for this?
It's on you.
We're gonna be less political, I guess.
No,
right?
whatever you want to do. We're going in.
And so, you know what?
Run it.
Run it. Ooh, it's hot. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Right.
Okay, and what's happening here? Next, select albums. Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. Because we're gonna change that.
All right. We ready? Okay.
Getting hot.
All right, and we're back. Again, you are with. Oh, hold on. All right, and we're back. You are looking at. All right, we're back. My name is Chris Carr, Brooklyn Wildlife, Black Land Ownership, all things Gamba, and you are watching and listening to Just for My People. Who do we have here today?
ZOE MAP.
That's right. So we were just talking about a wide range of issues, but you brought up something that I'm interested in is solidarity, right? What is your idea of how we move together moving forward?
Well, knowledge, number one. The more we know, the more we act out of sentiment, but more on, okay, acknowledging what happened, moving forward better, but we know exactly what happened. And also, we take responsibility. I think it's very important that we take responsibility for what we have done, what we have said. Sometimes it's not necessarily, a huge apology that you have to make, but it's also a matter of, okay, yeah, you can say sorry, and then I'm gonna be a better person because now I know better, I understood better. But it's also, yeah, solidarity is like, I wish that between artists, for example, back in centuries, artists were very connected together. They were almost like, I don't know, underground civilization. They were, connecting, constantly checking on each other on their path, even in the artistry specifically, where you going. There was a lot of confrontation. They were having, there was all of these art movements. They were having a name. Often the name was made up by, a journalist that was trying to, be controversial. But many times those names became the name of the art movement, and people were feeling, okay, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I feel now we are more in very individualistic type of life that doesn't allow us to be that I don't know, close to each other. And again, I'm not a super fan of groups
Yeah.
anyway. They become cults like in a second. I feel there is always also like usually groups are always a leader, and it's gonna become again that kind of structure that I'm not necessarily a fan of, specifically because often the leader is a man, I would say, and I don't want to follow his rules.
Well, I mean, in terms of community building and moving forward, the film work you've done, and specifically working with other filmmakers that are women, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have been researching about it and creating space for women to be together, to acknowledge their presence in the community and getting to know each other simply like the work of each other's. But is when you do an event that gather these people together and you see how happy they are or how they grateful for, they keep telling you thank you, you just keep doing it also because you see the purpose, right? But it's also true that nowadays there is a lot of networking. People just wanna, okay, what you can give me, okay? It's more than let's build together. It's more like, okay, what can I get from you? And a lot of people got skeptical. So when you just trying to be friend, they trying to see or figure what you want from them.
Right.
Um, it's not easy to navigate. I feel that still we need more space for women and just in general, the so-called minorities. So I'm gonna try always my best to hire women and people of color. That's what I do. Even that, which is this is another thing that I think that in the beginning I was like, wait a second, you are putting in your post or whatever job offer the description that you want some specific ethnicity or gender. In the beginning, I thought that that was actually discriminating, even though those people are from categories they are already, discriminated by society. And then I found it to be instead very direct and very, because I feel the urgency. That's
Yeah.
what it moves me, the urge of doing things like sooner than later. I want the change sooner than later. So to equalize this kind of imbalance, like you need to be impactful. So I was like, wow, this is really actually interesting because you can connect right away, you can hire right away, you can make your decision between the people that you think they are not represented, they don't usually are in those kind of positions. So yeah, I do the same when I'm leading any type of thing that can be also a film. I make sure that not only in front of the camera I have women, people of color, not gender conforming, trans, all these people that are being oppressed basically and always attacked by any type of source from the media to regular people on the street. I'm really trying to have them behind the camera and in charge with something actually pretty important, so that yeah.
You mentioned a sense of urgency. I've run into an idea of a lot of folks like moderation. A lot of folks want to be moderate, want to be centrist, um, and are like, well, it takes time. And with our land stuff, I'm often saying incrementalism is a luxury we don't have. Like, we need things to happen now. We can't do, well, in 5 years and in 20 years and in 60 years. It's already been centuries of certain things, and the walls have been closing in. The clean water is not as available, healthy food not as available, like now. For you, you know, what kind of guides that sense of urgency? I know, like, both of us have been through things where you might look at life a little bit differently about not waiting for stuff, and so what does push that sense of urgency for you? Like, what is now for you? Like, is now 5 years, 10 years? Or are you like in every decision, like things need to happen, and like why?
Well, with my existence and my being in every type of room, I want to be that discomfort. So I really embody the abrupt in a way at this point. I'm gonna embrace that. Some people told me like, "Oh, you're very abrasive." Uh, I believe that love and moderation. I mean, I don't really necessarily love that word moderation, but I understand where it comes from. And I think that, yes, you can't approach everybody like, yo, we need to do this and that. Even, yeah, the tone, the use of words. Yeah, that's what I'm working on it for sure. I'm working on being more effective. That doesn't mean to be more quiet.
Right.
It means to find better words to say the same things, find other ways to describe, find other ways to get this person that I know how they think close to this other person. I've been trying sometime to be that bridge that, kind of close that gap. Like, I know that those two people would never be in the same room or sitting next to each other, and I'm allowing that to be and actually pushing that to happen. Um, but the urgency has always been in me, because the urgent related to the urgency is everybody's life. So it's like, oh, that person, that little kid, I think also that maybe is related with being a woman, and yeah, like every little kid, just like every sentence, every word, every decision can make a change.
Mm-hmm.
So again, of course, we're not gonna see tomorrow. I don't know, Biden doing this certain type of laws that will make the lives of many better, or I don't know, whatever. But I honestly, I really want from these people, they are not in the, they don't identify as the oppressor, okay? So they are in the other side. So the other side means pushing those agenda of human rights, basically, because what we're talking about racism is basically human rights. It's not like, also something that, yeah, my people, the people from my type of ancestral, roots created. So it's our it's our priority to change it, and every single day in little choices that you think they don't have anything to do with, but it's constantly every single situations. So we can't just like, okay, we are pro this, pro that, pro these rights, and then they're gonna happen by themselves. We're just gonna be, but when someone asks you, oh, I'm not against that, that's not enough.
Right.
So, and I've seen that for years, even in my country, with the left wing, being like, yeah, becoming richer and richer, and completely anesthetized by, like people that completely, they don't feel anymore because they are not anymore in that group. So I don't know. It's just like calling out sometime. I'm not afraid to be that person, I'm
I
not.
know.
And I feel someone has to do that job, that dirty job, to call you out. No, I'm kidding. Cause like, I mean, in a way, kidding, not kidding. In a way, I know that I've been speaking or acting poorly in the past. I'm a work in progress. I don't have all it figured out. I'm not that kind of person that believe, oh, yes, I'm not trying to be an example for others. My life doesn't have to be necessarily an example. Can be, and if I am, if I inspire others to be better, I'm honored for sure. But it's not necessarily my ultimate goal. So that's why art, in a way, is an implicit way sometimes to push those boundaries and kind of like, remind people the urgency. But sometimes, I don't know, honestly, the more I get older, and the more I feel the need of finding something that is actually more direct. So yeah, if I was extreme when I was younger, I think I'm gonna get more extreme now because I'm gonna use my power to nail and narrow, my somehow fight.
I mean, I've been thinking a lot about art as a conduit or as something that is part of a larger journey for me, and music being so central to my life. And like, I am one of the people that I think hip hop is very important because I know how much it's changed my life. I know what direction I was on before I got the hip hop bug and went deep in a really good way for me. But I'm also realizing a rap song isn't always going to be the best way for me to convey the emotion I have at the time. Doing video work might sometimes do that, but then sometimes my photo video work, no, I need to be able to. You need these bars. You need 16 bars to explain what I'm just thinking. But all of it then is then leading to another idea of like, is the real thing the love or the beauty I like would want to express, but part of that happens when I poke the eye of society. Part of like what I make is not the world is flowers and waterfalls and blue skies. I'm the person that's like, yo, you stepped over the person that's unhoused, didn't look at them to make sure they're alive, and we're in a city where they're multi-billionaires. No one should be on the street almost half dead, and we shouldn't be apathetic to it, and there should be some way that if I call somebody, it's not the cops who might arrest them. And people are like, whoa, whoa, that's not fun to listen to in the club. And it's like, well, to get to the club, I got to see that type of shit happen, you know? And so my art is going to reflect that. How, for you then, in making your art where like you don't mind being abrasive, where you include some of these ideas or themes some folks may not always be ready to appreciate, how do you not let that get to you? How do you stay driven and not burn out?
Is a consistent work of I don't know. I feel that the purpose is immaculate because it's bringing people together. So that's why I'm like, I know that in the core of my work and of my persona is that the ultimate goal. It's just like I was thinking about Rodney King right now for a second when he says, "Can we all get along?"
Yeah.
Well, since those days, no, we can't. Seems like it. Can we all get along? Well, I don't know, but that's the ultimate goal. Like, so to stay sane in
Yeah.
all that, yeah, the support of other artists, the solidarity that you were saying before. I guess your support is meant a lot. It meant a lot to me, and it keeps meaning a lot because I feel okay. He sees me. He sees that that my work is getting better in terms of I'm expanding in a way that I supposed to. Um, it's always also has to be something that it's constantly changing because you're getting more knowledge. Oh, and that thought becomes like deeper, and then it's growing like that. You have to let that happen. I think a lot of people, just in general, I mean, generalizing is something that I'm not necessarily think that is helpful, but I noticed that many, at least, when you're trying to hey, you should reconsider the way you're thinking about this, you crush them because they don't recognize them anymore. And I think we have to be open to have so many versions of us. We're gonna always be those people. I mean, we're always gonna be that. We're always gonna be the same if you look at yourself in the mirror, pretty much, right? But the internal growing, this is something you have to be flexible. It's gonna be this way and then it's gonna take that shape and you don't even know. I'm honestly out of dreams, for example, because I'm come from a super small town, from a family that are, oh, you told me the word, I forgot again, the people that work for the farmer that is the owner.
Oh, sharecroppers.
Sharecroppers. So that's where I come from, which is like people that come from this kind of origins. They usually, maybe they're gonna, work at the grocery store. I'm in New York City trying to be an artist. My brother is like, Milan and traveling around and, being the best version of himself. I think we are um, not necessarily, I mean, if we can dream bigger, but it's also true that if you never seen it, if you never envisioned it, if you never had these people around you, at some point you're gonna run out of dreams.
Yeah.
And that's what is happening to me. So I'm like, wow, so even greater, because I know that I accomplished what that little girl, what that teenager, what the young adults wanted to do. Now it's just like what I became maybe suggest the other version, and it's gonna keep going. I don't even know. But yesterday when I was at this conference with these Italian Americans, speaking also a language that is universal, which is English, right? Like so many people can understand this language. So that message can reach a huge audience. And unfortunately, we weren't so many in that room, but there was a filmmaker, so things were like captured, But they were speaking and they were like using the right words to talk about responsibilities, ethnicity, um, and colonialism, anarchism. There's a huge history of Italians that were anarchists. That there are books, but again, there's still it's always like even like when I look at my the population of my country, you can see there's like maybe 70%, they are like that, and that give you the opportunity to believe in stereotypes. But there's 30% they're not like that. You don't even know how they are. It's a huge amount too. So sometimes I don't know. We focus a lot in the majority. Also, like what the media, whatever around pushes you to think that is the majority. But I'm still very proud to be Italian. I want to just show that you can be a different one. You don't have to be that stereotypical.
Yo, well, I want to say thank you for coming. And before we head out, I do want to say this. As a filmmaker and as a creative, I know there are times where it's like industry works a certain way. Or like for me as a musician, there's an industry. And with the internet and trying to make a living, there are always these questions. To anyone who sees this, you're a filmmaker. I'm inspired by what you just said because you reminded me there was a time period where if you had an idea, maybe you could get it in a book, but you'd have to mail that book somewhere, hoping someone knew how to read in the language in which you wrote it. Now, anyone who sees this video or hears this audio can share it with folks, can get it translated into whatever home language they are comfortable with. And now an idea of a person in this less than 1,000 square foot space in Brooklyn has the ability to get around the world. And to me, that's exciting. Like to me,
That's exciting. Yeah.
it's like dope to see like your frequency going out all the way around. So I want to say thank you for coming. Is there anything you want to say before we tune out?
Well, I want to say that what I ended up doing here also was extremely inspired by just looking at your work, the way you were navigating these events that you were curating, and the way you have been speaking to me was always like the moderation that you think you're not part of it. Actually, you were always, because I'm pretty sure that I said a lot of things that were whack in the past or not necessarily, I don't know, maybe they were like maybe a little racist. Okay, I, I don't know if you remember that, but I don't know. I think like the way I just watching you, putting all these people, different backgrounds, different everything together, and I was like, how nobody was doing what you were doing, and I still till these days I think that not so many people are doing what you do, and it's been like an incredible journey, and it's so incredible to watch. So you're a great inspiration for
Well, thank
who I
you.
am today.
Thank you. Well, now I
Chris
would say
Carr.
when we
And
first
black land ownership.
we out here when we first met, one of the things I appreciated most about you is how vocal you were, and I had to learn to understand how notions of race, class, gender, and self identification work when you're speaking to people that didn't grow up in D.C. I grew up in a place that was 56% black, was a major city in the United States, and where there is a black community that extends from government housing and below poverty line to some of the wealthiest black neighborhoods in the entire country. So my understanding of blackness, black community, and with the family I was in was skewed, I've come to learn, but was my normal. I didn't know people from other countries until I got to New York, basically. Like, I met people before from other places. I traveled a little bit, but it wasn't until, like, I got here and settled in, and I was meeting people who were into hip-hop, but they were from France, they were from Italy, they're from, places where it's not black majority. I've hung around Jamaican folks, they're Trinidadian, but, like, some of the conversations we had, I don't think, there was never a time where I was like, that's racist. There was a time where I was like, I don't understand how a person would say this. But because of how vocal you are, I did learn to understand perspective and to then be able to have the conversation better with people the next time. Or that when we spoke, not to assume when you said things, it was fill in the blank from, by the time I met you, I'm in my upper 20s. I heard a lot of white people say a lot of crazy shit. And it started to put me on, would you start with, I know where that ends up, I don't want to hear the rest of that shit. I had to learn how to be like, wait, you're saying something, but for a totally different reason. And to understand that, and then to be able to be like, well, here's why I still don't agree, or do agree, or why it's different, and have the conversation so that we still homies decade plus years later, instead of you being like, yo, you're too difficult, or me being like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And to me, I think that is part of the reality of when you bring people from around the world into the same room. Y'all are gonna have to talk through some like realities, and hopefully you'll be sitting in the room talking decades later.
Well,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Peace out. Just for my people, live. You are rocking with the best. Take it easy. Awesome.
Yeah, those days.
Tweet, and was recording. Woo! Good.
Part 2.
You get it?
Wait. Yes. 26 minutes. So perfect.
Good.
It was basically orientation is lock, rotate. Let's see. We'll see. Yeah.
Good job.
I'm not in touch with the people that I used to hang out at that time. None of them.
From what time?
Yo, you don't know how much it blew my mind. No, because at that time I had a lot of Italian friends, and then I realized, I actually cut them out of my life because they were not there when I needed them, specifically when I was sick. But then I was like, oh my God, these hypocrites. People that, again, they live, they navigate in New York City, they're surrounded by all the ethnicities, and then you will go to their parties and no other than Europeans, except for the pusher that was the black guy. And I was like, damn, I don't want to be here anymore. And then when George Floyd and all this shit, you will see in the Instagram Black Lives Matter posts.
I
You
did
don't
see it.
know how
I did see it.
you don't know how much I would have like, hey, you were saying I was obsessed with this concept, this theme. Like now is useful for your Instagram to post like black. I remember this dude telling me, Zoe, you just see this only. Yo, you have an obsession. You should understand that people are the same. I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, I know. That's why I'm fighting for it, but it's not quite yet.
No.
That.
I mean, it's such a weird thing of the obvious.
The obvious, yeah.
And I was just like in Variety Cafe. And I look around and I'm like the only black person in there.
I hate that place.
Can't stand it. And I'm like the only black person in there. And I was sitting there thinking, like, I wonder how many of the white folks in here go anywhere where they're the only white person on purpose. And not because it's their job, not because it's tied to anything.
That's what I used to do this kind of thing.
Like,
I used to go in Harlem just to be, I experienced to be a minority for the first time in New York City. Otherwise, I mean.
And it's like, and if the answer is like never, part of it turns into, well, how would that happen? And a part of me is like, well, you would want to go to Harlem, right? Like if you moved to New York City from another part of the country,
yeah, you want to go.
You would want to go to Harlem.
Oh, but they go to see the gospel. They do. They in the line. I remember seeing the line. All white people in the line to go inside, and then they think that this is like an attraction that they can like take photos or even imitate people. Look.
I saw a tour, Marcy Projects. So I'm used to the tours over there, where I used to live and the graffiti shit. I'm walking down by the Pfizer Center and I see what I'm used to. I'm like, oh, group of Europeans. Some random, oh, dude's not white, he looks a little Spanish. Okay, I won't interfere. I wasn't going to, but all right, I'm like, you out here, you get your money. But then I kind of sit back, I'm like, but what are they doing over here? There's no graffiti. Then I hear him and he's like, so around the corner, Marcy Projects, we're on our way to, is a home. Who is it? Jay-Z, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, he's on it. And I was walking that direction, and literally they posted up, and the woman, these two French teenagers, when they go take a picture in front of the Marcy Projects sign. And I'm like, they are so lucky people don't throw bricks at them. This is crazy.
They're so lucky, right?
They are so lucky. Like, yeah, like growing up, you could not do shit like that where I grew up. Not my neighborhood wasn't bad, but like we went to like any where you would want to be like, this is where the hood is. Nah, motherfucker, you throw shit out the window.
See, then I'm missing the old school, that kind of like roughness where you learn by, just encountering these people that kind of show you like, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah.
But it's not happening because people are still trying to stay out of trouble,
And now the amount of paramilitary policing means there are enough cops to be like, oh, when the white folks complain about the black neighbors, the cops will do something about it. There's a time period where certain neighborhoods, if you moved and you were white, it was like, no one's coming to help you. You're going to be the one complaining that the cops don't help and you get robbed just like the black people. Nowadays, it's like, no. When the white folks move in and start getting robbed and they call the cops, then the cops set up the blue lights, they start changing their neighborhood. And so people realize like harassing the new white people doesn't help. It doesn't actually make it go away. It brings more cops.
I mean, it's also true that we need to learn how to live in a big city like this. Come on. And the person behind is doing the tour, that's the person to blame for. And kind of like, yo, what are you trying to do?
And I wanted to be like, did you grow up here at least?
Oh, I've done it. In Bushwick. With a few people, I was like,
Oh, that guy got to know me. Like there's a blonde guy who was running them. And after the second or third where I popped up, I stood by and he was like, oh, and here we have a local Bushwick artist. And I was like, don't include me in this bullshit. No, I do not support this. This is parasitic.
he tried to interview me. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, he tried to be nice, and I was like, brother, I'm sorry, man, but you don't pay the artists. You don't even shout out their names. You getting paid. I feel you on the hustle, but I can't. These people, they're not contributing to, taking the local stores. Nah.
When I saw it, like,
He interviewed you.
yeah, that Hispanic that was doing
Yeah, I'm back to cooking again. Uh oh, hold on. All right, so now let me make